Hey horror fans, Ivo Rainbow McLean for Life. I'm back for more movie reviews for this month of October, which is going to be a horror month. And like I promised, I'm gonna continue doing horror films for this month. And I'm gonna talk about another horror franchise which I love to death. And today I'm going to review and talk about this Scream, which came out in December 18 in Los Angeles, premiered in 1996, but was released in the US December 20, 1996. And what can I say about Scream? I mean, what already was said. I think Scream is clever, it's smart, it's entertaining horror slasher film. I love this movie to death, and it's also very scary. It's the best one in the franchise. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's also my favorite horror film in top 10, definitely in top 10. And this is the UK release. I know it has different in the US release, the title, because it's actually, when I checked on YouTube, not YouTube, on Blu-ray.com, it says it's not written clever, hip, and bloodily funny. No, it's actually, I think it's titled Scary. And they they actually kinda changed it. But I'm glad it's still written clever. So we have all the cast, from the first movie. Now, Scream is the best teenage movie of all time. The best horror film ever. And the film is the perfect evoke to all slasher films of youth. And of course, it's directed by Wes Craven. And like I said, I'm a big fan of Wes Craven. I love A Nightmare on Street. I reviewed all the movies. You saw my poster of the first movie. And I already said A Nightmare on Street is my favorite. The original is my favorite horror movie of all time. Scream is right there, but it's not really my second favorite Wes Craven film. That would be New Nightmare. Shocker will be probably number 3 for the people on the stairs. I'll put this in Wes Craven, number 5, because I'm gonna continue doing Wes Craven films. And written was by Kevin Williamson. He later did the sequel and the fourth movie. But Scream has always been one of the best films, one of my favorite horror films of all time. I just love Scream to death. I mean, this is the original movie. This is the movie that started all. And the first time when I saw Scream, I was actually 14 years old. That time I saw the trailer, I was interested. And I was watching the movie that time on a blocked channel, which only had audio but not picture completely. But I was so fascinated by this movie that I actually really did track down the movie in video store. And it was around September, October 1998 when I actually finally got this movie on VHS for the first time. And that movie inspired me to watch other horror movies, to give a horror genre, to horror franchise, to make a horror franchise, a chance. Because Friday the 13th Part 3 and Halloween 4 scared so much of me. And there are other horror movies that are forgotten, like the Zero Boys. Probably no one heard about them. Those movies really scared the hell out of me, and I hated the horror films. But this movie inspired me. And first off, I love the costume of Ghostface. This is the back, The US has better, which it has, picture of the cast, but this has actually the Ghostface. So I love the Ghostface mask. I love the mask, the costume of the killer in this movie. And like I said, it's very clever, smart, entertaining film. I have always enjoyed, it's fast-paced, it's not boring. It's only 1 hour, 51 minutes, but you know what? It's not boring. I have no problems with this film. And this movie was actually inspired by many other horror films. It's been, and Kevin Williamson was very fascinated with horror films. His favorite was Halloween. So he actually was inspired to do this film, to make us very clever, to wrote very clever, smart script. Wes Craven, first he declined, but then he changed his mind and he did this movie this is one of his best films in my opinion. I love this movie to death. I'm gonna keep continue. I grew up with this film so much. I love this film that I bought myself, the first two. Actually, I asked my mom to bought me this film and the sequel. That time in 2000, the third one was released, and I was disappointed so much with the third one. So I just only kept the first and the second one on VHS tape. I think it's now in the storage now, but I do have the Blu-ray and I watched it last night. And this is one of the best 90s horror films with New Nightmare. Yes, I'll keep continue. I think everyone that's a Scream fan knows this is the best. It's my favorite horror movie for all time. I have an ex-girlfriend of mine, long time, long story. She was, the poster that you saw, Nightmare on Street, that was actually her gift for me for my birthday. But I bought this poster myself. Those posters I actually bought all of them myself. My friend was helping me out with those posters. But yeah, she actually she bought me a Nightmare on Street. Anyway, her sister, she's a huge fan of this movie. She loves this film to death. But she hates the sequels, which I'm gonna defend some of them. I love Scream 2. Scream 4 was right there with the first one. Then Scream 2, Scream 3, and the last one can kiss my ass, can suck my dick. Excuse me. Can suck my dick. Yeah, so horrible it was that I was swallow. That I almost swallow everything in my stomach because it's so horrible, that movie. And this is actually the first time this year I actually rewatched, because I only watched Scream 4 and 5 this year in March, and I was so disappointed the last film, but I'll get to there. But yeah, Scream, was been inspired, by 3 horror films. One of them was Halloween, Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street, and of course was Friday the 13th. It was inspiration, but also the most inspiration was New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which was early release before this movie, because this came out in 1996. And what can I say? It's a great horror slasher film. It's a great, clever, smart, entertaining horror slasher film. I love this movie to death. We have a great cast. All of them did great job. I love all of them, all the cast. David Arquette, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, Sket Ulrich, and Drew Barrymore, and the other ones are W. Earl Brown. Liu Schreiber has a small cameo role in the film. I think was the other Henry Winkler was in this movie. He played Principal in this movie. He actually played Principal Himbry in this movie. He was uncredited. I forgot what it was about. But Drew Barrymore, she was in this movie, and the first time when I watched this movie on VHS tape, even my mom watched this movie. I watched this movie like every day because it was so great. This is one of the greatest horror teen slasher films of all time, in my opinion. So great this movie is. This movie is fantastic. If you haven't watched it, I recommend this to everyone. Now, like I said, we have great cast. One of them I forgot to mention. I think Jamie Kennedy is also missing in this title. Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy are also missing this title, but thank God in the back it is written. But it has a great cast in my opinion. But I love that it has bars, that it's not surrounded around all the characters, all the different. But yes, I love the aspect, the filmography of the film, the filming locations, and how the sequels are completely different than this movie. This movie is the best in my opinion. And I know this is the Hugh Blu-ray, but I'm glad someone sold me, so I have this for my collection. But I love Scream, one of my favorite Wes Craven movies of all time. Now, Scream, Roger Jackson did a voice for the mysterious person calling his victims. Drew Barrymore, I do know. I saw her in Poison Ivy. I saw her movie. I think it was Bad Girls. She played in it. She was in that movie. I think it was Gone Crazy. She played, I think, the lead role. Drew Barrymore, she was in a lot of films, but mostly I remember her was when she was in Poison Ivy. I remember her a lot in that movie. I think she was a lot of films, Drew Barrymore. I don't remember right now, but yeah, the time when she played Casey Becker in the open scene, I did not have no, I was not had no idea who she was because of her hair, but she was great, And the movie starts with the title Scream. Original title was Scary Movie. I'm surprised it was a parody later of this film, but I'm glad that they actually changed to Scream, which is a proper title for this film, And they have all the cast. Sally McLillard is missing, but Sket Ulrich, Neve Campbell, Connie Cox, David Arquette, and of course Drew Barrymore are on this title, so I'm glad it's that, Like what I said already, this mysterious caller calls this young teenage girl. I thought she was 18, look like. But actually her character, Drew Barrymore's character, is 17. This mysterious person calls her and keeps asking her, on a date, and he keeps asking her about horror movies, because she's making a popcorn and she was ready to watch a movie. And, I think he asked the mysterious caller asked her, what's her favorite scary movie, and she says Halloween, the guy that was talking babysitters, Michael Myers, and he said, yeah, it was scary. And she asked, what's your favorite horror movie? And he says, guess. On Elm Street, is that the guy with the fingers, the instead of knives? Yeah, that's the one. Freddy. Yeah, I liked it. That's very scary. Scary. Well, the first one, the rest suck, which I kind of disagree with that, but yeah. This mystery caller becomes, a killer, and he started to threaten this young girl in her home, and then he kidnaps her boyfriend, Steven Ort. I don't remember who the actor was. I forgot to check out the end of credits. But he gets stabbed, and then Casey, she's been attacked, by a guy with a ghost face mask, with a long hood and long coat, and he has been attacking, Casey, and she's been actually stabbed, she's been stabbed many times, and this movie had so many gore and blood. It was very realistic. Now, how Drew Barrymore was crying, that was realistic. It was real because she... I actually read it. I did not went that much into the trivia, but I did read it a long time ago. That Wes Craven, he was reading scary stories, I think it was scary, tragical stories to Drew Barrymore. So he made her that she was crying, so that was realistic when she was crying the scream and she gets killed, and they did such a great special effects, hand out, Casey when her parents are finding her. It was really great, effects. And also Marianne Madalena, she was the one that she later became executive producer with Wes Craven. She was a New Nightmare. Like I said, Rachel Talalay dropped out, and since then, from New Nightmare, Marianne Madalena, who she also created Pretty Little Liars, she became one of the producers, with Wes Craven. So that's awesome. They actually did a great special effect. We see a killer, with a hood that goes with a ghost face mask, keeps stabbing Casey. You see the knife, the long Bowie knife, just like from Rambo. He goes inside the Rambo knife, but it's the Bowie knife, goes and stabs her multiple times. Then he goes and hangs her, that is very scary. Then we see Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell. She was one of the greatest heroines of all time. I was a huge, biggest crush on Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott. I had the biggest crush in this film. I was so in love with her. Honestly, she was my favorite. Not just only my favorite actress, but she was actually my imaginary girlfriend because I was so in love with her. Man, she was my biggest crush. Renee Russo was the first one from Little Weapon, Lorna Cole, Little Weapon 3, but she actually surpassed Renee Russo. She was so beautiful, so great. I was completely in love with Neve Campbell. I love her long hair. She did one of the most powerful performances on screen I have ever seen. She was such a great, unique, stylish heroine. She was badass. And like I said, Sket Ulrich looks like Johnny Depp from 9 Elm Street. This was inspired by other horror films when Sket Ulrich goes and climbs into Sidney's bedroom. That was already 9 Elm Street. That's what actually Wes Craven used in his first movie, and they used this scene in which Billy Loomis goes and he goes into the bedroom and sneaks into Sidney's bedroom. So this is the first time. The second time, sadly, they stole the scene in a Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which I thought my favorite movie does not deserve to be remade. But that's just me. But like I said, yeah, that was when he actually goes into the bedroom. Sidney, she actually is his girlfriend. In the next scene, in the school, we find out that Casey Baker, Stephen Ward, both of them were killed. Casey was sitting with Sidney in the I think it was in the English class, and we later found out that Sidney's mother almost a year ago, her mom was raped and killed. And Cody Cox played tabloid journalist Dwayne Gale. She was writing a book, and she claimed that Sidney was lying in Catherine Weary's trial. That he claims that he had sex with her mom, but he did not murder her, he did not kill her. She believes that the killer was someone else. And since then, they're actually in a rough spot between those two. It's actually, they're both not good. They're on a bad relationship. They're both the girls. While Deputy Dewey Riley, played by David Arquette, because Wes Craven worked with his sister, real sister, Patricia Arquette, on a 9 Elm Street Dream Warriors. I have right here, the t-shirt. There's a poster with Friday the 13th Part 2, which is my favorite sequel of all time. Yes, my favorite horror sequel. I know I said in my videos that Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, is my favorite, but I actually replaced it with Part 2 because of Amy Steele. Kane Hodder is still gonna be my favorite Jason, but Amy Steele is gonna be my favorite heroine. Then is going to be, then of course, Lara Palika is gonna be my second favorite heroine of all time, but Amy Steele, she's my favorite actress ever. Now, like I said, the Deputy Dewey Riley tries to investigate the murders himself. And Sidney, she's been called by this mysterious caller, and she's became once again a target. And the caller, the Roger Jackson, who plays the phone voice call, who calls her, Ghostface attacks her. Now, I did saw this guy who did he did the clues who the killer was, but actually, the two psycho killers that they did. I'm gonna get later, but yes, the killer attacks Sidney. He goes and chases her in her bedroom upstairs. She closed the door. At that time, he tries to stab her, but he's too late because she closed the door and the guy cannot get in. she tries to call, because the phone line doesn't work, she tries to call 911, emergency. And that time Billy shows up in the bedroom, and Sidney says, Billy, the killer's in the house. And she finds the phone, and she runs away, down the stairs. And that time, she gets scared, and she saw the mask, and she has such a great lungs. It screams, she screams, and it was so fucking awesome. This movie is a badass, and of course, the mask, Deputy Duvish, he holds the mask, and she screams, such a great, and there's another scene I forgot to mention when Sidney was struggling with the killer, and the killer goes with the knife, wants to slit her wrist, then he tries to stab her like a pure badass. She goes, punches him with the leg, the guy falls down. That's such a badass scene. And like I said, they arrested Billy. He's now the suspect. She goes, she actually goes, she now stays. They try to find her dad because her dad had a flight, because he was working, she was alone. And of course, like I said, Tatum Riley, she's actually best friend of Sidney. She wants, to protect Sidney at all costs because she's the sister, Rose McGowan. She's such a beautiful girl as Tatum. I love her dad scene on the film, and she was so great, It's so sad what's going on with Rose McGowan's real life now. It's sad. I don't want to see her or read her personal life now, what's going on. But that time she was such a beautiful girl, beautiful actress, beautiful babe. She was so great in the film. It's really sad, what's going on. But Tatum, she's the best friend of Sidney. She tries to protect her. She tries to protect her at all costs. At that time, the killer calls Sidney by the Rileys. And, and I just love the phone call when the Sidney says, no, leave me alone. Who are you? And I love when he says, you're going to find out soon. I promise. I just love that. I love the guy who goes taunts Sidney. Who is doing it? This is like a mystery horror thriller. We try to find out who is doing this. Who is doing this? Who is behind the mask? Who is the killer? And everyone is like fucking entertained, and it's so fast paced. You want to know who the fuck that killer is? Who's doing that? Why is Sidney became such an intelligent killer? That actually loves horror films and he's fascinated with horror films and before taunts his victims. He has the game and then he kills them with a knife, with a bowie knife, and that's in the film awesome. It's actually started in Winnsboro, fictional town of California, and like I said, Sidney, she actually came across Billy in the school. Then she goes to the bathroom. She has an argument with Billy. Then she goes to the bathroom, and there's actually two pretty girls. It actually did roll down the cast. That girl that was a cheerleader, when she calls, when she says, that Sidney's mom is actually was a slut, and I just loved it, And she says that Sidney was the one that she was killing everyone. That would be awesome. Just how the fuck will be two Sidneys, in my opinion. But the actress that was in it, that was Leonora Selfo. Sally, she only did 3 movies and the girl disappeared, but I thought she was great as a high school teen cheerleader. I thought she did a fantastic job. The other girl was Nancy Ann Ryder, girl in the bathroom that she was friends with the girl, with the cheerleader. Sally, I don't know her filmography, but I know that Leonora Selfo, which is sad, only did 3 movies. But she, as a teenage cheerleader, she was great. And they don't make movies like this anymore. It's rated R, it has blood, it has gory a lot, it has great kills. There's also when Principal Himbry, he goes and he's pissed off on these 2 teens that were just joking around with the Ghostface costume, and he goes, grabs, with the scissors, and he slashes the mask, and he says, "Your boy is spelled. Get out! Your boy is spelled." Two of your classmates were brutally murdered. He says, "Your boy is spelled. Your boy is spelled. Get out!" Then says, "Come on, it's just a joke. It's not fair." Yeah, I was like, "It should be right." I just love Henry Winkler in this movie. And I just love, when he gets in a school, he gets pranked and he gets stabbed by a ghost face. I love the scene. He goes, stabs him in his eye. We see the man's ghost face. I just love that. Not the bathroom when Sidney is, there's a fan, ghost face. He runs, he goes and runs, and Sidney escaped. That was a fan. But yeah, he tries, I don't know, maybe he tried to scare Sidney, but he escapes. She runs away. It's like she's never saved. So because the brutal murders, now the all classes are cancelled, and there's a police curfew, and Stu Maker, and of course his best friend, Randy Meeks, and they actually decide to make a party because Randy knows all the horror films. He works in a video store. He knows all the horror films. Also, The Howling is mentioned in this film, the original one. He knows all the horror films. His favorite movie is Halloween. So they decide to have a party. And Tatum and Sidney, they bought all the food, and there's a party going on. And like I said, tabloid journalist Gail Weathers and her cameraman Kenny, they actually W. Earl Brown, they actually go with the van. They put the camera in it to find out more. While Dewey gets actually a tip that someone saw Neil Prescott's car, because they could not find Neil Prescott. Sidney's dead anywhere, so they found that he's somewhere. They try. So he asks Gail if she goes with him to find if they see down the road anything, and she goes on a walk with him. And that was just awesome. They found the car. In meantime, what was the guy already? Stu asked his girlfriend Tatum to go downstairs to get a beer. She goes there in the garage. In that time, there's a ghost face, with the costume, and and she has like all the beers. She said, "Wow, you scared me. You wanna play a scary movie?" And he was like nothing. And she said, "No, Mr. Ghost is brilliant, because I want to be a seagulls." And she grabs the car at Casper, and he goes, cuts her wrist. This is such a badass scene. The guy tried to stab her. She throws the fridge in his face. She grabs the beers. Fuck it! She throws the beer bottles right in the face. I think she hits him in the balls, and one beer landed right in his face. And then he ran. She goes and kicks him around. She goes through to the door of the garage, and Ghostface goes and kills her. That's my favorite death scene in the film. Tatum's scene is the best one. He goes and kills her, slams her with the door, automatically he goes and slams her in the door, kills her. That is awesome. Great death scene in my opinion. It was a great death scene in my opinion. So Billy shows up, and he tries to get more, he tries to make it up to his girlfriend Sidney, and that he's not the killer. They actually slept together. We have a sex scene, and there's like all the guys watching Halloween, and we see like just like in Halloween, because Kevin Williamson was inspired by making this movie, and the script. They actually did such a great scene there. And like Randy goes, it also the rules never get back. Rule number one, you never have sex, because Jamie Lee Curtis, she always outsmart the killer. And second, you never have drugs or drinking. And third, never say I'll be back. I'm gonna be. Once I know, I'll be right back. fuck when Stu says, and then like everyone laughing, I was laughing. And like I said, Randy gets a call that they found Prince of Himbri, gutted and hanged, and so now they only. So now everyone runs away. Meantime, Gail and we find the car of Neil Prescott, and they actually try to get there. In the meantime, the killer shows up, stabs Billy in the bedrooms, attacks Sydney. Sydney runs away. Sydney goes, she runs away. Sydney goes and she runs away. It was just awesome, And he tries to hunt her down. Then he tries to stab, Randy when he's watching the movie, and he sees the camera. And she runs to the she goes and she runs. She actually falls down, the bedroom window, and she runs to the van, asks Kenny for help. And Kenny, sees the killer. The killer runs and he goes and slits his neck, which is awesome. Tries to attack Cindy. He stabs her right here. She escapes. He hunts her down. He keeps hunting her down. She runs away. She goes and breaks the fences. And meantime, when Dewey goes in the house, and he says to Gail, call the cops, call the sheriff. And she goes to she actually goes into the van. She finds on the bed, on the rooftop, Kenny, and she says, I'm sorry, Kenny, but they're fucking with you, and he falls down. And the time, when Cindy says stop, she's like waving with her hands. And, that was inspired by Friday 13 Part 3, when then Dana Kimmel runs away from Jason and steals the van, and that's the van scene. It was inspired from Friday 13. If you remember Part 3, by the finale, when Dana Kimmel runs away from Jason, the sequel to this movie. And that was inspiration, in my opinion. So that was it. So she crashes down with the van, almost hits Cindy, crashes the van, and Cindy calls Dewey, and Dewey shows up. He's stabbed, and he stabbed, and the killer goes and chases her once again, and she grabs the gun, in that time Randy also gets hit by Gail with the phone, that time. And he says, Cindy, get that, she's a fucker, Stu, they both blame each other, and she says, fuck you, boy, and she closes the door. That time Billy shows up, and, she gives him a gun, and Randy, gets in it and says, Stu's mad, and I love when Billy says, you are gonna mad sometimes. He goes, shoots him, right, he falls down, and says, ooh, syrup, corn syrup, they just use it for Carrie, and that time she runs away, and Stu shows up, and says, help me, and he uses that one word, says, surprise, Sydney. Just love that. And and at the end he throws him, ooh, so you can see a ghost, and then she finds out that both of them, says, you're not ever gonna both get away with it. Oh, tell her to cut and vary. And they both tell her why, why they raped and killed her mom. And later, later, because Sydney didn't know, but her mom, she had an affair with Billy's dad, and because of that, his mom left him, and that time Billy was pissed off. And like I said, Ghostface was about revenge, and he was pissed off a lot. And that's explained why the motive, And that time, when I actually love, when Stu, holds the gun and says, it's a fun game, Sydney. This guy's gonna die, and it's a fun game, Sydney. We ask you a question, booga! If you answer wrong, you die. And Billy says, if you answer right, you die anyway. Just love that. Booga, you die. Just love that, Jamie Kennedy did fantastic job as Stu Maker. He's supposed to return in the third sequel, but did not happen. Scott Ulrich, he was awesome as Billy Loomis' boyfriend Orsini, and later turned out the killer, the mastermind behind it. He was clever, he was awesome. I love him in this script. I love this movie to death. He was awesome, in my opinion. He was awesome. I love him. I love Matthew Lillard as not Jamie Kennedy, Matthew Lillard as Randy. I'm sorry, I forgot. This was Matthew Lillard. He was awesome. This movie, they both great psychos. And on the end, like I said, on the finale, there's a great fight scene. I love when she grabs her dad, she escapes, she calls them, and just love, Billy when he goes, bitch. You bitch, where the fuck are you? That's a fast player game. To guess who called the police and report your motherfucking ass. And I just love when actually, Stu asks her, did you really do the cops? Yeah, I bet your ass I did. And he says, my mom and dad's gonna be so mad at me. And he's gonna, bitch. You bitch, I'm gonna rip you off! Just like I love your mother! You first gonna find me! You pass the ass mama's boy, bitch! And he was like stabbing everything on the pillows, And then he gets attacked in the closet with the umbrella, clunks down. And I love, Matthew Lillard, he sees her, he goes, jumps her. That was a stuntman when he knocks down the actress. I know if it was the stunt woman or was actually Neve Campbell, or was more... but the guy that knocks down Sydney was a stuntman. You can see clearly in TV. He goes, knocks her down, and he always said things on the scene. And she goes, bites him in the arm, uses the waist, breaks her head, And she goes, the TV says, in your dreams, shows TV on him, kills him dead by stereo from the Lost Boys. Awesome. That time Billy shows up. Goes, attacks her, with a knife. Say hello to your mother. And that time, Gail goes, shoots him, and this time I remember the safety bastard. And Randy, she saves Randy, and he shows up, he goes, shoots him in the head, and they save her dad. And of course, Dewey, he's actually go to the hospital in a great story, beautiful view side, beautiful farm side, the end. You have a great music score by Soko, Whisper to a Scream. You have a fantastic cast. I thought that Scott Ulrich and Matthew Lillard were great as two psychos playing the game, taunting their victims as Ghostface. Drew Barrymore was fantastic. I already mentioned it. That Neve Campbell did one of the most powerful performances of her life. I had a huge crush on her. Great kills, great stab kills. It's scary, it's realistic, it's very scary, it's clever, it's smart, it's entertaining. I always had fun with this film. I always have enjoyed it. Great score by Marco Beltrami. It's inspired by many of the slasher genres like Friday the 13th right there. It's the sequel, but I love the sequel more than the original. A Nightmare on Elm Street by Wes Craven, and of course by Halloween. It's also this movie, the budget for this movie was only $14 million, but it grossed $173 million worldwide, so that was awesome. So it's actually a teen slasher genre, which is awesome. Director Wes Craven as director of slasher classics, and Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street, he easily sets the visual feels and style the film to perfectly evoke all the slasher films of youth. Screams, script chooses that either faithful follow the tried and true, or to go off in completely unexpected directions. It's a classic in my opinion. This movie is a classic. It's a fantastic film. I love this movie to death. But that's my movie review on Scream, the original film, the best one of all five, my favorite movies all time. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll be doing the review Scream Dose soon. So I'll see you that then. I'm out. Peace. Bye bye.